Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a cake tutorial video. I have been making cakes for probably about 4.5 years, and this cake is going to be a Descendants cake for my 8-year-old niece. So the first thing I'm going to do is just layer my cakes. I will put all the equipment I use in the description box below, including the buttercream recipe that I use to make my cakes. So I've already gone ahead and leveled on my cakes, and then I'm just going to fill them with icing. And then make sure everything is level. So one trick that I've used over the years is actually using a bread knife to cut down the sides to make sure everything is nice and level and smooth. And I feel like it just makes it easier to coat the cakes, and then they just come out looking a little bit more symmetrical. Then I'm just gonna ice up the sides and then use a scraper to scrape down all the sides. You want to lock in all the crumbs, so it's important to get that first layer of icing on. Then I'm just going to smooth out the top and then set that cake aside in the refrigerator to get chilled. Then I'm going to do my second tier, which I'm doing in chocolate because I figure it's better to have options of who likes what cake. So I did one in vanilla and one in chocolate. And then I did the same thing. I just layered the cakes up and then smoothed out the sides. So the top tier I'm covering in this dark royal purple fondant. Usually I do dye my own fondants, but for the sake of time, I actually went with pre-colored fondants, and I will have them all linked in the description below as well. So then I just rolled out my fondant and I placed it over the cake and then smoothed out all the edges. I find it's really easy to just use a pizza cutter to get rid of all the excess, and it makes it a little bit easier to finish the fondant on the cakes. Then once that's all smoothed, I'm gonna just pop that into the refrigerator again. And then for the lower level, I'm doing a light lavender color. Once again, this was a pre-colored fondant, so I will put a link in the description below for this color. And I just rolled it out onto my mat and then covered my larger cake with it. So once I cut out all the excess and I smoothed it out, I did use this acrylic pattern that looks like quilting. It came in a pack of 4, so it has a quilt that looks like this pattern, and then a smaller one, and then 2 square ones. And then I just used little gold balls to put into each of the corners of the diamonds. And then I'm just using a little bit of gold luster dust to paint it to make it look a little bit more antique. I'm going to use some gold luster dust to paint the top of the cake to make it look like gold is dripping off the top. You can add vodka in another bowl to some gold luster dust and paint like that. I kind of wanted it to have a dusty feel, so I didn't go with vodka because I didn't want anything to get too wet. So the only non-edible part of this cake was the ribbon that I used to cover the base. This was just a gold pattern ribbon that I had, and I just used a little water on a paintbrush to add the ribbon to the bottom. Now for the top of the cake, I decided to do a candied apple. I will also put a link to the video that I used to learn how to make candied apples. So you basically need corn syrup, sugar, water, and then a little bit of red food coloring. Once I set my apples aside, I started working on the vines that were going to go around the apple. So I kind of just took a string and measured how long I needed it to go around the whole apple, put a piece of tape down on my mat so I could roll out a vine the same length, and then I just painted the whole thing in luster dust, and I made 2 little tiny leaves just based on what I thought leaves were going to look like. Then I just used the vine and I placed it on the candy apple where I wanted it to go, and then I added the leaves to it. Now it does turn out that if the candy apple is even a little bit moist or hot, the vine does tend to just come off of it, so I would highly suggest keeping it in the refrigerator. Then I just tried my attempt at a Disney D, just using a picture and then following that. And then I just took that and I'm putting it on the top tier of the cake. So I just used a little bit of water on a paintbrush on the back of the D to connect it to the cake. And then I held it there till it dried. And then I did the same thing with the second part. Then I just did a few touch-ups on the gold paint, and that was pretty much it for the top tier. I took the pieces individually to where the party was going to be so I can assemble it there. And this is the finished cake. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. I make videos on wellness, cocktails, DIYs, and easy recipes. I will see you guys next time.